just a little blip. I hate technology, and the thought of actually doing this is making me sweat. So it's just my luck. The one time I'm doing it, the video breaks down. Sorry about that. Let's start. So the core. As we were saying before my video stopped recording, we're going to start with our core. So from the groin to the belly button, draw it in. And as you draw it in, you should feel the muscles, the internal muscles, pulling in. When you're doing it, I'm not sure if we got to this point before the video stopped, but I want you to think about breathing. It's quite normal when you're doing this exercise to stop breathing. And that's simply because one of the core muscles is your diaphragm. So what normally happens is, because they're difficult muscles to feel and difficult muscles to find, what we tend to do is just suck everything in at once and hold it there. And the trouble is, one of the core muscles is the diaphragm. So if your diaphragm's not moving, you're not breathing. So draw everything in, squeeze it in from the groin up until the belly button, hold it there, open your chest and breathe. And we're just going to practice that for a bit. We're just going to practice holding these muscles in and breathing. Nice deep breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth. What you don't want to do is tense these muscles too tightly, because overdoing it can cause problems. So just try and keep them on. Be aware they're activated, that's all, whilst maintaining form and breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. So that's the core. So just to recap, I want your feet hip distance apart. I want your knees at 90 degrees. I want your core on, a neutral spine so you can't feel anything in your back. And I want a nice open chest. Right, from there, we're going to get the footstool out. Now, the first things first, most of the exercises I'm going to ask you to do are going to be sitting away from the back of the chair using your core. With this one, pop yourself against the back of the chair and use it for support. Because when we start lifting the legs up, if you're tight, hamstrings, glutes, hip, whatever, when you start straightening the leg and raising it up, that will naturally make you lean back and put pressure into your back. So to stop that from happening, we're just going to use the back of the chair for support, pop a leg up, the other leg you're not using, keep flat on the floor. Right, so let's start about the midline of the thigh. So our bodies always develop habits, and unfortunately, all of the time, they're bad habits. So as a sports therapist, what I'm constantly with people is I'm trying to strip out the bad habits and get the body to work in its correct anatomical way, rather than the way it decides to want to work. So the first things first, we need to line everything up. Now, I call this the midline of the thigh, and it's an imaginary line. The line runs down the center of your thigh, straight down the center of the knee, straight down the center of the foot, straight down the center of the toes here. So basically, you don't want your leg there, or your leg anywhere else. Now, the next thing we're going to look at is your wiggle. What do I mean by your wiggle? Does your patella, your kneecap, wiggle freely? So if you just grab it with the leg like this, finger and thumb, just move it and it should gently wiggle. If you feel your leg's coming with you and your kneecap isn't wiggling, that's because you've got a lot of tension all around the quads. What I deal with every day is muscular imbalance. A lot of muscle pain, aches, all that sort of thing starts from having imbalances in the muscle. So it's important we look at these imbalances of the muscle and make sure everything lines up correctly. Now, the quad's a great example. 4 muscles in the quad. 1, 2, 3, 4. And these should be all of even strength and tone, but they hardly ever are. What happens normally, because of the way we walk and the way we lean on our sides, the muscles at the outside become tighter than the muscles on the inside, and this pulls the kneecap over that way. And so when you're walking or when you're using the leg, instead of the kneecap sliding up and down as it should do, it gets pulled over to one side and causes knee pain. Now, if you haven't got any wiggle in your patella, we will learn how to loosen off the muscles in the thigh, but not during this session. This session is just an all-over just to get you started. But the reason I'm talking about it is if you can't line everything up perfectly, don't worry. Don't force it, because forcing something to do something it doesn't want to do, if you've got children or grandchildren, never goes well. So just try and get it as close to as you think is perfect. So sit yourself up straight, keep that chest open, activate your core, and pop your leg up, trying to line everything up. The first thing we're going to do is just dorsiflex and plantarflex, or in English, point your toes towards you or point your toes away from you. And we're just going to do that 10 times just to see what's going on. What we're looking for here is a nice smooth action without hesitancy. When there's hesitancy or everything's juddering and wobbling around, it's an indication that something's loose, we've got an injury, something needs looking at. So we're just going to try and do this nice and smooth, like so. Now we're going to rotate the ankle one way, and the same thing, nice and smooth. A few times that way and a few times the other. Now the first thing you might be feeling is a real tension, tightness in the calf muscles. The calves can become really, really tight. And the trouble is, when that happens, it doesn't allow your foot to flex correctly, which is why your ankle might be hesitating and you're struggling plantar flex and dorsiflexing. So what we're going to do is stretch the calf off first of all. So you grab your tea towel, fold it in half again, and just gently place it around the toe and gently pull in. Now, I say gently, you don't want to cause yourself pain. Okay, there's a thin line between a good stretch and pain, and we don't want pain. If we cause pain, what happens when your body's in pain? All the muscles tense up to protect, to stop further pain and injury from occurring. So it's detrimental to cause pain. So we're going to do a light stretch, hold it there. And then after that, if you try wiggling around and moving forwards and back, you should feel that works a little bit better. Right, so let's try that on the other side. First of all, whoa, didn't realise I was that bad. So one of the problems with my hideous back is that I do get a lot of nerve impingement, but it doesn't stop me doing anything. Last year I jumped out of a plane. All it means is that I have to do these exercises to do the things I love doing, walking, cycling, going to the gym. I have to do these exercises daily, because if I don't, the muscles tighten up. And when the muscles tighten up, you get further restrictions, which puts pressure into the joints. So as you can see here, this is way off the radar. So if I actually try and line it up, see my legs shaking, it hurts, and it doesn't quite line up. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put this to the best of my abilities in this position and not force it. So although it's not perfect, it's good enough for what we want to do. So let's line it up and forwards and back. And if you can see that, you can see my foot isn't quite flexing properly, but that's just because of my long-term battle with nerve damage and a bad back. And then we're going to rotate round, and you can see that is juddering all over the place. But the further we get into this, that will start, you can see that started easing off. So unfortunately, if you have got nerve impingement, or if you have got a bad back, what it's doing, it's constantly aggravating the nerve and aggravating the muscles, running down the leg, causing mild sciatica. And you can see here, just from a quick loosen off, I've dealt with that. And this is basically what I do every day. I haven't done them today because I wanted to share it with you. But if I didn't do that, everything would tight up and I'd end up walking with a limp and struggling to get up the stairs and everything else. Right, so that's that. Now we're going to start easing off the trunk. First things first, avoid doing this. I've seen some exercises in certain papers where they're informing you to sort of, right, no good. First of all, right, the muscles in the glutes are the strongest and biggest muscles in the body. Now, if you've got a really, really strong muscle and then you ask it to do something it doesn't want to do, what's going to happen is you're going to get a really, really strong complaint and a really, really strong injury. Out of the people I treat, probably 9 out of 10 back pain is actually down to tension in the glutes. What happens is you've got your sciatic nerve, which is as thick as your little finger, that runs from the spine through the buttocks and down the leg. Now, when those muscles are tight, they compress the sciatic nerve, and that gives you referred pain. So what we're going to do is we're going to find a way of easing the muscle without aggravating the muscle. So join your fingertips up and your thumb. Place your thumbs on your sternum and keep your arms parallel to the floor. Now, this is important to go back to the Molly checklist. If your feet are hip distance apart, 90-degree bend at the knee, anchor the feet to the floor. That will stop you overdoing it. So if I just show you here with my arms parallel, now make sure your forehead follows your torso. And we're just going to glue the thumbs into the sternum, elbows up, and just turn slightly like that. You can see my head's following my torso. Now, I'm being anchored to the floor, so that will stop me going too far. If I let my feet go, I can do this, which is great, but I'm putting far too much twist into my spine. And if I have got a problem here, I'm going to be sore in the morning. So line everything up, fingers together, thumbs on sternum, open your chest, and we're just going to twist as far as we can go. Don't force it, just do a natural action and back to center. Over to the other side, twist and back to center. And what you don't want are your knees following you. So the action comes from the trunk. We're just trying to gently loosen off this. Right, out to the side, back to center, over to the side and back to center. We're not going to force this. We're just going to try and go a little bit further each time. And you'll get to the point where you'll feel it loosening off. All of a sudden, you're going much further with much more freedom of movement. Out to the side and back to center, to the side and back to center. One more time, and back to center. So that's just a nice little way of easing things off. Right, next thing, let's stretch the hips. So using your core, what we're going to try and do is put our ankle on our knee like this. But what you don't want to do is compromise your back. So when you're doing that, don't slouch into the spine, because all you've done there is you've put all your body weight into the back and you're going to aggravate any condition you may have. So sit yourself up straight, ankle on the knee. Right, this hand supports the ankle. And what we're going to do is just gently push down and we're going to open up the groin. Whilst we're doing this, try and keep your chest open and take in nice deep breaths. And don't forget about that core. Keep that core on. Good. Hold it there. And then place your hand on the other side and bring the leg up. And you should feel quite a strong stretch going into your glute. Hold it there. Nice deep breaths. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Right, let's swap sides. So gently push down. Just feel the stretch in your groin. Is your chest open? Is your core on? Hold it there. And we'll hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then reverse your hand and pull up. Feel the stretch in your bottom. Hold it there. Nice deep breaths and keep your chest open. And hold it for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and rest. Good. Now we're going to look a bit more at the upper body. So get your feet back in position, 90 degree at the knee, neutral spine with your core on. Place your hands by your side and we're going to do shoulder rolls. So arms up and roll back, and we're going to loosen off here. Now, one of the main complications I find with headaches and neck aches and that sort of thing is because the actual isn't coming from here. It's actually the chest is too tight. The chest is a massive, great muscle that starts from the sternum and comes all the way across into the top of the arm. What happens here, if the chest tightens up, it does this. It pulls your shoulders forward. Then if your shoulders are forward, the weight of your arms hangs off the neck instead of the ball and socket joint in the shoulder. So you're walking around with your arms hanging off your neck, which is building the tension up, which is why we get headaches. So gentle circular movements will do two things. They loosen the chest off, and they're also loosen the neck off a bit in your trapezius, the big muscle in the upper back that can cause a few issues. Right, from there, now we've done that, what we're going to do is we're going to strengthen the trapezius. Now, by strengthening the trapezius muscle in the upper back, it stops your shoulders from coming forwards. So I want you to do an exercise I call the cactus. So put your arms up like so, elbows the same height as your shoulders, and hands directly over the elbows. So when you're doing it, You want to be like instead of like that or like that. So sit yourself up straight, arms up, make sure they're in the right position, and now squeeze the shoulder blades together. So try and squeeze the shoulders into the center of the spine and hold it there. Let's hold for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and rest. Now don't worry if that was difficult. What you'll probably find, it might even ache. And that's because we're all a bit tired, we're all a bit stressed. The first place stress and tension goes to is in the shoulder blades. So by doing this, you're just going to gently strengthen them. So let's try it again. Arms up, elbows the same height as shoulders, hands above elbows. Squeeze those shoulder blades together and squeeze for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Right, now we need your T-toe again. We're going to do the mid-row. And again, this is an exercise to strengthen those muscles at the back. So grab your towel and hold it like a bar. Your hands want to be about shoulder distance apart. So remember your checklist, open chest, activate your core, spine's neutral, you're sitting away from the back of the chair. And we're going to pull into our stomachs and squeeze the shoulder blades together. Squeeze for a few seconds and then release. So let's do that again. Into the stomach, squeeze the shoulder blades together, squeeze for a few seconds and release. Let's do 10 of these. So number 3, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze and release. Number 4, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze and release. 5, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze and release. Number 6, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze and release. 7, good. 8, that's it. 9, last time. And 10, good. So now let's loosen off all these muscles. The first one is your shoulder stretch. Arm out straight, bring it across your body, just off the elbow towards the shoulder, pull. Now when you do this, try not to rotate your trunk with it. Keep everything straight. The only thing that's moving is the shoulder joint. If you're struggling doing that, then bend the arm and do it. And what that does, that can take a bit of tension out the tendons. And we're going to hold that for another 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And again on the other side, straight arm, bring it across, arm just off the elbow, pull it in and hold it there. Remember to breathe, nice deep breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth. Good, and let's hold for another 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now let's stretch the chest. Place your hands on your hips and bring your elbows together. So you're trying to get your elbows to touch each other. Stick your chest out and squeeze. And you should feel a stretch here. And let's hold for another 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good, and rest. Right, the last one we're going to do is just a little neck loosen off. So sit yourself, feet in the right position, knees in the right position. Is your core on, spine neutral, open chest, hands on your lap or by your sides, whichever you feel better, more comfortable with. And from there, we're going to try and just look over our shoulder. And we're not going to force this. We're just going to gently try and look over our shoulder. And just hold it there for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Gently back to center. And we're going to go the other way. Looking over the shoulder. Try to stop turning with it. So the only thing that moves is your head. Hold it there and hold for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and rest. So that's it for the first workshop. What I'd like to do is send you away with homework. And my homework to you is be mindful of your core. So whatever you're doing, whether you're driving a car, whether you're sitting, eating your dinner, going for a walk, whatever it is, try and think, is my core activated? Now, when I mean activated, don't whack it on. Just feel that something there is activated and switched on. And then we're going to try and get the body working in harmony together instead of fighting itself. So what we're going to do is when we stand, using a core, we're going to take in a breath. And as we exhale, stand up like so. What everyone does when they stand. Hands go down here, lean forwards, and we stand like that. Body weight's all in our knees, and then we put all the body weight into the back. Think of how many times you stand up and down from a chair in a day. By doing this exercise, you're strengthening not only your core, your thighs, your glutes, your back, everything. So I want you to try and think, every time you stand up, activate the core, and then stand up using your core. And this way we're strengthening, naturally strengthening our thighs and buttocks as well. Anyway, that's it for today. Look forward to seeing you next week. Stay well.